It's September 11th, 2023. Today, we still remember the day Islamic terrorists, under the direction of Osama bin Laden, attacked the Twin Towers in New York's World Trade Center and the Pentagon, killing more than 4,000 Americans in the year 2001. That led the U.S. to declare war with the Afghanistan Taliban government in search of justice. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould, and welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban. According to a report of the 9/11 Commission, Flight 93 that took off from Newark Airport and made a U-turn towards D.C. may have targeted the Capitol or the White House. But thanks to the courageous effort of passengers of Flight 93, they overcame the hijackers. However, the plane crash-landed in an open field in Pennsylvania, saving thousands of lives while making the sacrifice with their own lives. We here at The Pulse remember the death of thousands in a single day during the 9/11 attack, including the brave passengers of Flight 93, who unknowingly had saved our Capitol and the White House. We share the sorrows of those families who still grieve for their loss.
We also would like to remember September 11 as the birthday of the late Fatima Pat Magallanes, who was a philanthropist in her own right and has done so much for the Filipino-American community in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tita Pat left us for an eternal life on February 8 this year. We certainly miss you, Tita Pat.
Donald Trump lost big again last week against columnist E. Jean Carroll. The two words used by the judge to rule in favor of defamation case plaintiff E. Jean Carroll was collateral estoppel. The Pulse has followed the E. Jean Carroll case and run segments about this case in separate occasions as the case developed. For those of you who hearing of the case for the first time or have heard of it but lost track of how the case progressed, last week's decision by Judge Lewis Kaplan was a big win for E. Jean Carroll. Here's the background on the case. When E. Jean Carroll, a magazine columnist, came out publicly in 2019 to describe how she was sexually assaulted by Donald Trump in Manhattan, New York department store in 1996, Trump called her a complete con job and accused her of making it up to sell books. Her experience was in a book she wrote, and an excerpt was published in a New York magazine. In her book, she wrote that after a chance encounter at the Bergdorf Goodman department store, Trump forced her against a wall and pulled her tights down before pressing his fingers into her private parts and raping her. But the case was dubbed Carroll Case 1, stalled because Donald Trump was a sitting president. She had never come forward before, she said, having seen the treatment handed out to other female victims of sexual assault. But when Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein was convicted, that sparked the Me Too movement. More and more women came forward with their experience. Many across the United States who were victims were subject of the statutes of limitation, which means the time period to file charges had expired. But last year, when the New York State passed the Adult Survivors Act, allowing victims to file sexual assault lawsuits within a one-year window, old sexual assault cases and the E. Jean Carroll case ended up in a Manhattan court. But this trial in New York is a civil, not a criminal case. This case was dubbed as the Carroll 2 case. Carroll 2 was filed after a Trump comment disparaging E. Jean Carroll in 2022. The second case went to jury trial first before Carroll won, and the jury awarded the plaintiff $5 million judgment against Donald Trump. The recent decision by Judge Lewis Kaplan granted the motion for summary judgment on the issue of liability. What did this mean? According to legal analysis and commentaries by lawyer Ben Meiselas of the podcast Midas Touch Network, Judge Lewis Kaplan found Donald Trump liable or responsible for defaming E. Jean Carroll in the summer of 2019. He rejected Trump's lawyer's attempt to try the same case and the same evidence from the plaintiff. Some consider this as another attempt to delay the case and get a second-round attempt to defend the case and reverse judgment on the Carroll 2 case. But the judge said that there is no need for another jury trial with the same sets of evidence that already found Trump liable, and that the next jury in January 2024, which is scheduled to hear the case on the Carroll 1, their job is just to determine the amount of damages the defendant will have to pay. That is a big win indeed for E. Jean Carroll.
The biggest sentence yet handed to a defendant on the January 6 Capitol attack was given to the Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio. The longest prison sentence yet to a defendant in the sprawling investigation by the Justice Department for the January 6 Capitol attack was imposed last Thursday to the one-time chairman of the Proud Boys. The prosecutors had recommended a sentence of 33 years in prison, but the judge sentenced Enrique Tarrio to 22 years in prison. One of his co-defendant, Ethan Nordine, another Proud Boys leader, already was sentenced the previous week to 18 years in prison. Others in the same group received 10 to 17 years.
In the Georgia RICO case on election interference, whereby Trump and 18 others are the defendants in the conspiracy case, Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee denied the request of Kenneth Chesbrough seeking a speedy trial for October this year, and to sever his case from fellow Trump attorney and co-defendant Sidney Powell. Kenneth Chesbrough, who was a Trump White House attorney who was included in this RICO case, petitioned for a constitutional right for speedy trial. But the prosecutors from the Fulton County District Attorney argued that hearing for his own petition that calling for 1,500 witnesses will take time, and that a trial to start in October, which is already next month, is impossible. Also hanging is the question that is still to be decided by a federal judge of whether there is a merit or validity that Chesbrough, Mike Pence, and lawyer Sidney Powell can be severed from the state RICO case and be prosecuted in a federal court. As many legal analysts had spoken in various media, such a petition is unlikely to succeed, noting that their alleged crime, and in the case of White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, is not part of his official duty while working as a federal employee. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stick around.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that the speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
It's real nice that someone actually addressed the physics associated with how sound comes out.
The challenge we had was to create an earbud with enough airspace for the sound to fully develop and breathe. Unfortunately, traditional earbuds are about the size of a jelly bean, and there's just not enough airspace. However, that changed when we developed airflow audio. Airflow uses an air tube to deliver 6 to 8 times more airspace than traditional earbuds. The end result is a true live listening experience, just like you're at a festival or a concert. We also added magnets to the back of the earpieces so you can wear it around your neck when you're not using them.
Being that the drivers are 8 inches from the earpiece, the magnets do not affect the integrity of the sound at all.
The orange line represents the frequency transmitting through the wire to the speaker, which then converts to the blue sound wave that develops more as it travels up the air tube, producing a balanced, full body and live listening experience.
Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Welcome back to The Pulse. In the African country of Sudan, there has not been a slowdown in the fighting between government military forces and the rebel group RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, led by General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. According to reports from Al Jazeera, rights group and the United Nations have accused the rebels' Rapid Support Force, or RSF, of committing summary executions, burying victims in mass graves, and using rape as a weapon of war. The United States responded to these reports by sanctioning 2 senior RSF commanders on September 6. According to the State Department, General Hamdan Dagalo and his brother were imposed sanctioned by the United States, according to the United States Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas Greenfield. Such sanctions are usually done by the U.S. Treasury that prevents countries and individuals from using the banking system to send money to aid the sanctioned individuals or entities, or to move money to other countries or entities. Sanctioned persons will have their travels to other countries restricted. The RSF are repackaged force of the formerly known force as Janjaweed, who perpetrated heinous crimes and atrocities in Darfur region of Sudan and South Sudan. Many of the victims here are still waiting for perpetrators to be brought to justice by the ICC, the International Crimes Commission. Meanwhile, the United States announced providing $163 million in additional humanitarian assistance for the people of Sudan and neighboring countries affected by the war in Sudan, to help with the thousands of displaced persons and refugee operations.
In Ukraine, the U.S. is sending depleted uranium anti-tank munitions to help out their defenses and counter-offensives against Russia. The United States is just following the footsteps of the United Kingdom, where they are also sending those kinds of munitions to Ukraine. In Las Vegas, Nevada, the Philippine government had announced that there is now an honorary consul for Southern Nevada that will be based here in Las Vegas. Amy Belmonte has been sworn in as the honorary consul for Southern Nevada, and the office was also inaugurated Sunday during a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The honorary consul will supplement the services of the Consulate General Los Angeles. And for those of you who are wondering, there are actually still many things the honorary consul can perform. Other matters will have to be handled like passporting and all those kind of stuff will be handled by the Consul General of Los Angeles. And some other things that an honorary consul can do is like represent the Philippine government if, like, says a Filipino national is arrested in Las Vegas. The honorary consul general had to be contacted, and if help is needed by the Filipino national, then the honorary consul can represent the Philippine government. So congratulations to our colleague in the Fil-Am community, Amy Belmonte, on your appointment as Honorary Consul of the Republic of the Philippines. We are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we will be joined here at the polls by two young college Democrats. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Here with us today at the Fil-Am TV studio are Imer Cepedes-Alvarado and Carolyn Salvador Azila, who serve as the president and vice president of the Nevada College Democrats. Imer was previously with the University of Southern Nevada, Las Vegas Democrats as vice chairman, and now with the newly formed Nevada College Democrats. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's our pleasure to having you. So please give us some insights into your organization.
So we have just started the State Federation of the College Democrats of America. Here it's called the Nevada College Democrats. And our main focus is to get young people who are studying currently in higher education to get involved in politics and make sure that their voices are really heard, especially in this changing climate right now. So many things are happening. We're gearing up for 2024, so we're trying to get everybody involved.
So, Imer, how many Democrats are there in the college population in Nevada? Just an estimate.
It's challenging to provide an exact number, but college campuses have seen growing and diverse population of students getting involved into the democratic process and political activism. So we're pretty sure that across the country there's more than thousands of students with the Democrat Party. And according to one of the last news that was seen last night, 66% of college students are enrolled with the Democrat Party.
That's an amazing number. You know.
What vital role will the college Democratic students play on the ground game and strategic planning in the 2024 campaign?
I think it's so important to remember that the college students are really going to be our next generation for people who are voting. So they're starting to get more involved because they really care about the world that they're going into and what they're being left with from older generations and people who have been involved in politics previously. So I think for the Democratic Party and just really for all the candidates that are getting involved for the 2024 election season, it's going to be a pretty big impact what the college community has on everybody's races. We're definitely going to be one of the bigger voting blocks. I think this year it grows every time there's an election cycle, so I think there's going to be a pretty big impact.
That's good to know. What is the this is like one of the hot button issue beginning in the 2020 and now the 2022 election. What is the general sentiment right now in the student population towards the Republican attacks on LGBTQ, women's rights, and attack on race and minority, like what is happening in red states?
There's a big frustration among college students since what the Republican Party is standing by, and as a minority in the United States, college students feel frustrated about their policies against us. I feel that they must need to focus on what are the needs of our young people, as the Democrat Party does, because the Democrat Party really focus on the minorities, not just Latino, but also Filipino population over here in our great state, Nevada. So it's frustrating also to see how Justice Thomas from the Supreme Court, it's against the President Biden ruling for, how is it called now, student loans. I forgot.
Student loan?
I was trying to focus on that one as well.
Yeah, I think also, especially coming from these newer generations, we're seeing a lot more inclusivity in the way that people think, not just for minorities and for women, but also for the LGBTQ community. So I think when our generation sees people who are already involved in politics, usually in the Republican Party, who are making these attacks and really focusing on making these minority communities targets for people, it's definitely a problem that people are focusing on, and I think that's one of the reasons why college students are definitely getting involved in politics right now more than ever.
Is there, you observe, college students or from your school and other schools reaching out, or they've been scrambling to find a low rent unit? Because what's been happening in Las Vegas is like a lot of the apartment complex had been purchased by out-of-state big investors to the detriment of the locals and especially the students. Do you observe people trying to move or to scramble and find a place that they can afford?
It's definitely become an issue, not just here in Las Vegas, but I think nationwide as well for students, and I think that's why we're seeing such an involvement in the Democratic Party from people our age, is because I have friends personally who were accepted to colleges in California, for example, and because there was no affordable housing, they had to turn down their higher education. Here in Las Vegas, the same thing happens so much, where we have people who, because affordable housing is not that common, they have to move into places with 5 or 6 other friends to make sure that they can make ends meet. And that's still a hard thing, to be able to find housing that is affordable in that situation, but that can also accommodate so many people. So it's definitely an issue.
Yes. This one is for Imer. This is about that student loan. It's like you're offered something and then all of a sudden someone else take it away from you. What is the reaction of the students on student debt and the original student loan forgiveness plan of President Biden being pushed through by the Republican opposition?
So student debt is a significant border for many of us. We appreciate President Biden administration with the efforts that he has trying to implement about this topic. And I feel college students, we are so frustrated about the position that they just trying to figure out the way to stop his laws to support the students.
Last words from you, Imer.
So I 100% agree with what you mentioned before. Also, there's a presidential candidate from the Republican Party. I think his name is Ramaswamy.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yes, Vivek Ramaswamy. He said the first day as president, he will introduce a bill to increase actually the minimum age to vote across the country. He said the minimum age should be 25 years old. Should be an exam to to see if young people are really
competent.
Like to vote. So we are encouraged college students to stand against that and vote Democrat in the upcoming elections, because this now we're talking against constitutional rights.
Yes.
So I feel that the Republican Party is against the voters' rights, not just with the minorities, but also with college students as well.
Yes.
So we need to stop that as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a valid observation because, you know, of course, you know, if Vivek Ramaswamy introduces that kind of legislation or make an executive order, a U.S. district judge will easily strike that as unconstitutional. It's like a political stunt. It's unlikely to happen, but but it really proves that they are fearful of young voters, especially not just minorities. So whenever I see like events nationwide where there is like protest, there are pro-democratic, you'll see like everybody is there, white, black, Hispanic, Asians, you know, and other minorities who just are there to, you know, to sound off that we need to protect our democracy. So thank you both for joining us here today, and we hope this will not be, you know, you can make yourself available as the 2024 election approaches, because we want to know what are the ground games the young Democrats, the college Democrats are doing.
Of course, thank you so much, both of you, for having us on your lovely show, and we'd love to come back sometime soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much for providing this amazing platform to college students to express our feelings about the upcoming elections.
It's our pleasure here at The Pulse.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with us your valuable insights. Thank you for watching The Pulse. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould.
And I'm Sam Buban. God bless your week.